Hey, this is Justin Fabus, and I'm hanging out with Rob on Front Row Live.
Recently just got off a tour with New Kids on the Block. So talk to me about this and how different is it touring with such an iconic, group like that?
Yeah, I mean, God, it's unbelievable, to be honest with you. Like, it's hard for me to talk about sometimes because it's hard for me to believe. I was able to open for them in their Pittsburgh show, and I'm from Pittsburgh, so it's one thing to play an arena with 20,000 people,
Right.
but to play in your hometown, I mean, it takes your breath away. You always hear stories of, hearing things like, oh, when you play your first arena, when you play in front of 10 or 15,000 people, it'll literally take your breath away, and you're like, I don't know about that, and I've played shows in front of 5,000 or 6,000 people before, but it literally took my breath away. We were getting ready to jump on stage, and they pull the curtain back, and you just feel that energy, and they have such an unbelievable fan base. The Blockheads, they're so diehard, and they're so loyal,
Right.
and I can't be thankful and appreciative enough for them to let me, kind of just weasel my way into that little fan base for a little bit, and for them to take me on. It was I'm very, very, very grateful for that.
Right. And how did that even come about for you? I know you've been like collaborating or working with Donnie.
So what happened is the story's actually really crazy. I've been a huge fan, of the song 2 in the Morning, which came on their Block album in 2008. It was like their big comeback album.
Yeah.
And when I first heard it, it just resonated with me, and I just felt like there was this country version, kind of just screaming in my ear. And back in 2008, I was just kind of fooling around with acoustic versions when I was playing. And back in January, I was just listening to like my Apple Music, just my shuffle, and that song came on. And I just, I randomly tweet during the day sometimes, and I tweeted how I was listening to that song, and it was screaming for a country version.
Right.
And I tweeted that out, not thinking of anything. And later that day, I checked my Twitter, and it was like going insane. I had like 2,000 or 3,000 new followers, and I had all these responses, and I'm like, what the hell is going on right now? And a Blockhead actually tweeted it to Donnie Wahlberg, and Donnie Wahlberg saw it, and he responded and said, like, hey, have at it, kind of gave me his blessing and said, it was a very special song to him that he wrote, and he agreed that there was a country version kind of waiting to be out there. And at first I was kind of taken back by it because, when you got to go in the studio and you got to cut the song, and when you put out a new song, you do promo for it and you advertise for it, but you got to kind of during that time, you got to strike while the iron's hot. If you wait too long, everybody, exactly. So it took me and my band. I called my band up and I said, "Hey, look, we're gonna go in and cut a New Kids on the Block song." And I think my guitarist was like, "What are you talking about?" You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean?
But we're country. Like,
Yeah,
well, what's
exactly.
going on?
How's that work? But I was like, trust me, once you hear the song and once you hear the the route and the way we're gonna go with this version, and I'm such a big fan of the original version. Nothing's ever gonna top that. Nothing's ever gonna beat that version.
Right.
And I didn't want to make a duplicate of that, but I wanted to stay true to it, and but at the same token, put my spin on it and make a country version.
Right.
So we literally rehearsed like that next day, and then went into the studio. I think we cut it in like a day.
Damn.
And then we just put it out there, which is ass backwards. When you put out a new song, you advertise and you say, I got a new single coming out, and do promo for it. And we just threw it out there at first just on YouTube just to get an idea of the response. And Donnie loved it, the Blockheads loved it, and that's one thing about the Blockheads. Like, they'll straight up tell you, like, if you suck.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? They're so
don't play.
loyal. They don't play around. Yeah, and on top of that, like, they don't want you to screw it up. And of course, there's a couple people like, you can't,
Right.
can't match the original, and you can't redo a song that's already fantastic. And I agreed. And I think the reason why they let me into their circle is I did it as a homage to, great songwriting like, that Donnie wrote, and just a great song performed by the guys in the band. And, everybody can relate to, not wanting to go to bed angry, and, being late and fighting with your, significant other, and not wanting to go to bed that way. So I think that's why, I gravitated towards it. And that's why country music, when everything the songwriting is, blue collar, it's everyday people.
Right.
And everybody can relate to fighting with their spouse and just not wanting to go to bed that way,
Right.
and wanting to reconcile. And that's the way I saw it, and that's the way I heard it.
That's crazy. And then to think that then you're like opening up for them on a show.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty crazy. I got like a text from Donnie Wahlberg's people like the day before and was like, hey, Donnie would like you to perform 2 a.m. at the, PPG Paints Arena tomorrow. Are you available?
So it wasn't even like a heads up. It was just it was get out of bed right now.
Yeah, it was literally day or two. I was like, am I available? It's like a trick question. You know what I mean? But it was nerve wracking because, it was just like drop everything, boom, be here at this time, sound check, you're going on in front of 20,000 people.
Wow.
And, yeah, it was pretty crazy. And I'm used to playing guitar and playing with my band. And they were just like, hey, we're just going to, sing to a track. And that was nerve-wracking to me because I've never sang to a track before. And if you're not used to that, it can be kind of, crazy. And so to already be nervous about going in front of 20,000 blockheads, if you screw this song up, they're literally going to rip you apart. And it wasn't just New Kids on the Block. I mean, the mixtape tour was like, New Kids on the Block, Salt and Pepper.
That was such a good tour.
Yeah, Naughty by Nature.
Yep.
And just Debbie Gibson, Tiffany, like these amazing, artists that you grew up with. Yeah. And then they stick this country artist in there. And it's like, how does this work? But luckily with my following and, in my hometown and the blockheads, approving of my version, it worked, So to have the guys by Naughty by Nature hype up the crowd and then call me out and do it, do my version of 2 a.m. And then the New Kids came out, it was just, and then be able to sit side stage and watch, these legendary artists perform and just to go out there and do it. I mean, I just read that their tour, that was their biggest tour to date. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it's just like, it was a big one. Yeah, and that just shows you like how amazing their fan base is, and and they just keep doing it. And those guys are, in the band and the New Kids, they work so hard and they're so kind to their fans. To be backstage and just watch how they interact with their fans and how they interact with their team and the crew and everybody from, the people that worked with the food and, and the tour people and just to watch how respectful they were to everybody. It set a tone and showed me how, you should treat people and treat people on tour. And just to have that experience alone was amazing.
I feel like that's the perfect remedy for success.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I don't know if you guys understood that one right now.
Yeah, no pun there. Yeah, right.
So talking about remedy, what? All of a sudden, talk to me about this album. It's your debut, and you did it yourself. It's self-released, all done independently. So talk to me about the creative process behind it, and like what was the idea behind this album?
Yeah, I definitely. Prior to this, I put out 2 EPs, and I went in with the mindset you only get one shot at making your debut album. Yeah. And I wanted to make an album where it was front to back. You didn't skip songs. Right. I didn't want to put any filler songs on there. I wanted to put songs that I felt that every song could be a single. I want the whole album to be a concept album. I wanted to tell a story from front to back. Yeah. Growing up, I grew up on amazing albums like from Springsteen and Billy Joel and Merle Haggard and Johnny Cash, and you put those albums on and you can listen to it front to back and not skip a song. And I also, I don't come from just a straight country background. Like I said, like I'm a big Springsteen fan and Billy Joel, and I'm a big Sam Cooke fan. Okay. So, I like to put all those elements in my songs and try to make, a different feel for every song, but I still want to keep it, me. Mm-hmm. And when we went in to do the album, a lot of people that go in and cut country albums, you use Nashville studio guys, and it's usually a handful of, the best of the best, and they're on every album. Like every album you hear today, a Tim McGraw album or, Kane Brown album or any country artist, Kelsey Ballerini, they usually have the same cats, you know what I mean? Because those guys are so good. Right. But growing up on the albums I grew up on, I wanted to put my band on the album. And that's kind of unheard of these days. You have your touring guys and you have your studio guys, but the albums that I grew up on, like the guys used their band in the studio. I didn't want to lose my sound. Yeah. Nothing against those studio cats. Like they would have, the album would have sounded great, but it would have took away from my sound. It wouldn't have been true to me. And think about that. Yeah, for sure. And our live shows are such a big deal with our fans and I wanted to capture a little bit of that live essence and that feel because I gel with my guys. My guys have been with me for, over a year or two now. And when you work with, hired guns or studio guys, they're fantastic. They're the best of the best. They're monsters. They're better musicians than I'll ever be. But you don't have that camaraderie.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I know when I go out tonight, like to do a show at the Mint, you know, I'll lean on those guys. Those guys will lean on me, and we'll make something organic. And every show is different.
Right.
So I wanted to go in the studio, and I wanted people to feel that, you know. And I wanted to make an album where people could listen to it front to back, and you know, hopefully, you know, maybe one or two of those songs, you know, would shape, you know, someone's soundtrack to their life.
Right.
You know, that's the goal, at least with the way I look at it as a songwriter. If I can write a song to change someone's life, or I can write a song where it's their first kiss or their first dance, or you know, it was a summer night when they fell in love. I mean, that's what it's all about right there.
Yeah.
For sure. So I went in to make the album with that mindset. I wanted people to go in and listen to it front to back, and not say like, oh, okay, you know, in a world today with it's just kind of singles too, you know what I mean? So it's
true.
you got that pressure that, okay, you know, if you don't put out your best, people are just going to go off the single that you release, and they're not going to listen to the album.
Right.
Unfortunately, you know, people aren't really releasing albums now. They're doing you know, they're doing singles or doing EPs. So when we had the opportunity to put the album out, that was even more pressure, because it's like, you know, I don't know if I'll ever put out another album. Maybe I'll put out an EP. Maybe I'll just release a single after single after single. So that was the mentality of it, and you know, I'm very happy with the way it came out.
Right. Now, when you were creating the album, well, when listening to the album, actually, like I hear that, you know, guitar is a very big instrument on this record. What is the importance of the guitar for you?
I mean, it's very important to me. You know, I grew up on very heavy guitar albums. You know, I've been a big fan of Van Halen albums and Led Zeppelin albums, and you know, those, and especially with the country, with the steel guitar. There's a lot of steel guitar in the album as well. And you know, to me, it's really not a country album without some steel or some banjo or some fiddle. But at the same token, I wanted to have those gritty, crunchy guitars. Kind of like that, you know. I'm not a big fan of the word genre. You know what I mean? Like, if it's good music and it makes you move, that's all that matters.
Right, exactly.
You know, like, you know, people have the debate, like, is Old Town Road a country song? Is it a country song? I don't know. Who am I to say? But it's a damn good song.
It's a damn
you know
good
what I
song,
mean?
that's
Like, it's a catchy song. It wouldn't have broken records on Billboard if it wasn't a good song.
Right.
So who are we to trash it? Now, you know, in a month from now, something else might not be country.
Right.
Or something might be country. I mean,
True.
you know, when Elvis came out, you know, he was, you know, the devil's music. And now, you know, it's like, so there are a lot of artists that came out now that are considered traditional country, but when they came out, they weren't considered country. So, you know, there's always going to be someone telling you no, or it's not that.
Right.
You know, like, who cares? Like, who are you to tell me?
Just do what you want to do.
Right, exactly. Who are you to tell me that I can't listen to this because it's not country music? Who are you to tell me that I shouldn't listen to it because, oh, well, that's not country. You don't know country. It's like, you know, what is country? What is rock? What is pop?
Right.
If it's good music, it makes you move. If you can sing along to it, you can dance to it. I mean, I think that's all that matters.
That's amazing. That's good that you have that mentality, because I feel like people get lost with the idea of like, I'm making a record, I'm gonna tour the record, so they kind of like do whatever sells faster to the fans.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. There's been times where I fell into kind of like the realm of like, you know, oh, we should use drum machines and have those claps and those pop sounds, and then you get in there and you start doing it, and it's like, oh, this shit isn't me. You know what I mean? And it just doesn't feel right. Yeah. So it's like I said, I think it's because I've come from so many aspects of different music, like rock and pop and R&B and you know, all those different elements, and you know, I'm inspired by so many different amazing artists. You know, for someone to tell me like, oh, I don't like country music, like, you're an ass. You know what I mean? Like, because I can guarantee you, I could play you 10 songs and not tell you that they're country songs. I could mix them up in pop and rock and guarantee you'll probably like one of the country songs.
Right.
And then if you try to tell me it's not country, it's like, well, did you like the song? It's like, yeah, I liked it. Okay, well, that's considered a country song. You like country music. You know what I mean? So, you know, you got to get out of that. You got to get out of that box.
Right.
Yeah.
So now that this album's out, you know, you're here in LA for this little run. Yeah. What else is next for you for the end of this year? I mean, we're almost wrapping up 2019.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. I mean, it's gonna. I mean, what, tomorrow is September? Tomorrow or the next day? Yeah. I mean, you know, we're more than halfway through the year. You know, the tour goes all the way to December. I think like when we're done, we're gonna hit like almost like 50 different states. Nice. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's pretty crazy that we have that opportunity. So we're gonna keep touring. It slows down towards the end of the year, but I'm actually in the studio now working on new music.
Nice.
So I'm gonna have a single out within the next month or two,
Okay.
and then probably put out an EP or put out another single. So definitely new music. Like Remedy came out last June, so it's been over a year,
Right.
and we're still touring on it and pushing songs off that. But the way the music industry is now, like people are pumping out singles every month. You know what I mean? So for me not to put out new music in a year, I mean I put out the 2 in the Morning single in January, but that's a cover, you know what I mean? And it, it wasn't really a, straight single for me, but very, very grateful for it, very thankful for it. But yeah, we'll have new music probably in the next month or two.